at 6:03, if you'll please rise for the pledge and stay standing for the invocation. Reverend Basile.
Lord, we thank you for this special day. And Lord, if sunlight can only take a few minutes to come 93 million miles, then how long will it take our love to be received by your love? Lord, I think it's instant. And so I pray that today we would be filled with love that comes from you and shared with each other. Thank you for our leaders in this great city. We pray in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Michael, if you'll please take the roll call.
Absolutely, Madam Mayor. Councilman Lloyd?
Here.
Councilman Schlack?
Present.
Councilman Barr? Here. Councilman Marcos and Councilman Valerius have asked to be excused. Councilwoman Nick?
Here.
Mayor McLeod?
Here.
We have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Motion, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Schlack,
Second.
second by Mr. Barr.
And through the chair,
Yes.
that would be moving up. Did we want to put them after org business, or did we want to go to R1?
We could bring, well, I think we agreed moving it up to R1.
Okay, that's perfectly fine.
So Resolution 4 will now become Resolution 1, and the rest will become renumbered.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Any other changes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of August 13th?
Motion, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Lloyd,
Second.
second by Ms. Nick. He already had it. Any corrections or changes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Now we have a presentation.
No. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So, I like these days. We're swearing in our 20th employee in 4 years. Ellie Cox, you want to come up here? Lieutenant Paul Schreier is our FTO coordinator. Currently, we have 5 that are in field training right now. They're all in phase 3, so about a month and a half, 2 months, they'll be out on the road solo patrol. Allie went through the police academy with those 5, so she put herself through, and very smart nowadays with officers being in high demand. She test drove the different cities, and she ended up picking us, so we're happy to have her here. She won 2 different scholarships in the academy, and I think she shot one of the best at her gun range with her new weapons. I think she had nearly a perfect score. Yeah. Her and I think Konecki, right? I think one of the other guys shot incredible, but I expected them to. They just shot 2,000 rounds with those guns in the academy. Our guys just got them switched over. So she's being tasered Friday. She's not really happy about that, Mom. She's not really happy about that. I promise she'll get through it. We're not going to do Facebook Live. I learned my lesson with too many inappropriate comments. So we'll make that quick. So, Mr. Mizzy, when you're ready. She has her mom and her boyfriend here and friend, right? Okay. So if you want to turn around that way.
All right. I'm going to stand right here, if you don't mind. Now, I'm not going to make you repeat it. Just at the end, say, I do, I swear, I affirm, whatever you feel most comfortable with. So raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and that you will endeavor to secure and maintain an honest and efficient administration of the affairs of the city of Allen Park, free from partisan distinction or control, and that you will perform the duties of full-time police officer to the best of your ability, so help you God? I do. Congratulations.
Yes, we need you to wait 1 second. We used to do this at the end of the meetings when we did our comments and everyone was gone, so it really didn't matter, but we do it at this point. So we'll start with Mr. Lloyd.
Thank you so much for choosing Allen Park. I know that you have a lot of choices out there. This is a great community, so we're very appreciative of you making this, continue to make this a great place. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I say thank you for coming. Definitely, I know you're going to do great things. I look forward to hearing those, and I always want to say thank you to your parents. They're or your mother and your boyfriend that are going to be worried about you the most, more than anyone. So thank you for them, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I know what it's like. Have fun getting shocked.
Shocking experience.
I've gone through it, so I understand.
Allie, I know that you've had some trials and tribulations getting to the point you are right now. I am so happy that you are here, and I will say a prayer for you on Friday when they tase you. So
Thank you.
congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
And just repeat everything everyone else said, but we are so very, very happy that you chose us. We've got an excellent department, and we've made some great strides over the past few years, and I think just adding individuals like you speaks very well for our department and for our community. Thank you very much for choosing us, and we hope you have a long, fulfilling career with us.
Thank you.
We'll go over to the city hall side and take some pictures so we're not too loud in there. So if you guys want to come up and go there, Paul, can you go that way? So she's had a busy week. Her first week she came in, we got department photos, and she did active shooter training, had a nice barbecue. And so she actually is my replacement. So we are currently staffed. So yeah, I'm glad we got her. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Outstanding.
Now we'll come to organizational business.
And as typical, everybody's walked out of the room. Well, half the audience has walked out of the room when I'm ready to speak. So we're definitely happy to see Ellie join the City of Allen Park Police Department. Just a few updates on some projects going on here in the city. The bridge project on Reek Road at the Sexton Kilfoyle continues, and that bridge will remain closed. Reek Road will remain closed through October. The M39 Service Drive Bridge project that's between O'Connor and Euclid Avenue has been delayed because of a DT streetlight issue. We were hoping to have that one finished by Labor Day. It looks like they're going to be a little bit longer as they just try to resolve the DT issue and move forth on that. For some training, we have DPS Deputy Director Michael Laughlin, DPS Supervisor Roy Shipman, and then 3 employees from the Water Department, Andrew Lozon, Dalton Bachman, and Mike. I had this one really under control earlier today. Pierre Federici. Let me go one more time. Pierre Federici. Michael is going to be, they're going to be attending the water distribution short course at Hickory Corners, which Michael Laughlin told me is between Kalamazoo and Battle Creek. That's going to be October 8th through the 10th, and this training is in preparation for their S license test that'll be in November. I think all 5 of those guys are S3s. Or S3s, and they're all going to be taking the S1 license, if I'm not mistaken. I think all of them are 3s moving up to S1s, which is a great compliment to Tom and his staff to make sure these guys are well trained and ready to go for our operations and future as well. Officer Zachary McIsaac will be attending the Field Training Officer program September 30th through October 4th down in Monroe. We're going to have the Shred Day and Styrofoam Collection. That's going to be on October 5th. If you were wondering, Michigan will be playing Washington a day game or a road game, so I'll be here for that. As we normally work around that schedule. That event's going to be held in the parking lot off of Philomene behind Prestige, Banquet Hall, Culver's, PNC Bank. The hours for that are 9 to 12. And then just a huge thank you to Pam and Wayne Smith for providing a barbecue last week to the police department and the city hall staff. They go out of their way every single time. Chief, did you end up with more food for the other shifts as well? And so I know there was plenty there. They brought cake. I had to sample it. It was good. But we do appreciate everything Wayne and Pam Smith do. And their son was with them as well, and granddaughter. And we do appreciate your generosity for the employees. And again, this is something that they've done at the fire department, Parks and Recreation, DPS, and they just kind of make their rounds around at least once a year, I think maybe even twice a year. I think we've had breakfast in the past and that, so we just really do appreciate them. That is all I have.
Thank you. May I have a motion to accept and file the administrator's report? Motion by Mr. Barr.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lloyd. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is accepted and filed. Now we come to public comments. You have 4 minutes to speak. All we ask is that you provide your name and the street on which you live. Please do not provide the full address, and keep your comments civil. Since no one is coming forward, we will close public comments and move on to the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda consists of claims and accounts and the payroll report. Motion, please.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Lloyd,
Second.
second by Ms. Nick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They are approved. Resolutions, we come to Resolution 1, formerly known as Resolution 4, which is to authorize the issuance of 2024 capital improvement bonds for the fire station. Motion, please.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Lloyd,
Second.
second by Mr. Barr. Mr. O'Reilly.
Good evening. So tonight we are here asking you to look at the bonds and to make a decision, if possible, to approve the bonds for the fire station improvement project. This project we've been working on this project for approximately the past 6 months, trying to get all the different levels ready for the final presentation. I think we're there. Our blueprints and our site plan is down to about 99%. We are coming in on budget. We've had to make quite a few cuts to things that we needed, we thought we needed, based on priorities. We were able to get a good chunk of them, but there are some things that we did have to delete for cost. The building currently right now, as you all know, is in ill repair. It's in rough shape on the inside. While the outside looks nice, the inside is rough. And this project is been due for quite a few years. We've managed to get through to this point, and as the fire chief, I'm asking for your approval to move this project forward and get this building where it needs to be so that we can continue to serve the public in an efficient manner.
Are there any questions? We'll have the bond individuals come up and further explain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. My name is Ron Liscombe. I'm an attorney with Miller Canfield. We served as your bond counsel for many years. What you have in front of you this evening is a bond authorizing resolution, which will authorize the city to issue its capital improvement bonds in an amount not to exceed $8.5 million at an interest rate not to exceed 5%. This is the only action that you would have to take because you are delegating to various authorized officials of the city the authority to market the bonds and to execute all the documents necessary for their sale and ultimately their issuance. We're authorizing, it's kind of a kitchen sink resolution where we're authorizing both a competitive and a negotiated sale, including a potential private placement, although with the term that's probably not very likely. We expect it to be a negotiated sale with an underwriter. So I'm happy to entertain any questions you may have. And we also have Stephen Roberts from R.W. Baird, who serves as the city's municipal advisor. So if you have any financial related questions, it would be directed to Stephen.
If I may, through the chair, while we're authorizing up to $8.5 million, we anticipate that to be around $8.1 million at the final sale. And while the interest rate is listed at 5%, we do anticipate that to be much lower. The form sheet I did pass out was based on the close of business yesterday, which I believe was around 4.25%? Correct. Okay, and then they've added in another 0.25%. prefer to be as conservative as possible on this, just so you have a general idea of what this could be in a worst-case scenario. But it could get better. As we do know, and there was a bit of discussion this evening, or earlier this evening, that we do anticipate the feds to reduce rates going forth here, even though it's kind of uncommon right before election, but this is uncommon times as we are now seeing anyways. So we're already, and they've already anticipated some of that as the market's already starting to anticipate some of that, those reductions going forth. So we're just trying to be in the conservative aspect. If these numbers do come in as they are, just as they are today, it's on the sheet here, my recommendation would be on a 20-year bond as opposed to a 25 or a 30-year. I think we can make that happen based on the fact that how we've looked at our estimates is including for zero taxable value growth. So we're seeing just true numbers without, speculating on what the growth could be in the future years. And that, I would have preferred, I think when I talked to Chief O'Reilly, I think I was in the 12 to 15-year range at one point, hoping for 12 to 15. So 20 comes a little bit better than the 30 years that I thought we may go after we started looking at numbers and interest rates were going up and that. So I think we're in a good place.
Through the chair.
Yes.
So just for everybody at home, the difference between 20 and 25 years would be the difference about $1.3 million. Is that correct, Mark? Am I looking at this correct?
Yeah, and total debt service.
Total debt service.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Resolution 2 is to ratify the action of the city administrator regarding the emergency purchase of a Robinair R-1234YF ACS machine from Glendale Auto Value at a cost not to exceed $7,339.95 with funds from account 101-30939-000 and two other accounts. Motion, please. Motion by Ms. Nick, second by Mr. Barr. You have clarification on this item?
So I'll start with the clarification of the account numbers, is that this purchase would be spread out amongst the police department, the DPS, and the water department. The equipment that we have here it was a need for a repair that for one of our newer Explorers, they now contain a new free-end refrigerant R-1234YF, which replaces refrigerant R-134A. I had to do a little research on this as well, so I'm just trying to understand it. But if the purpose of allowing it to have allow Roy to purchase it ahead of time was the repair at the dealership was going to be around $2,500. The future vehicles, the current vehicles we have that are year 2021 or newer, and future vehicles are all going to have this refrigerant, or will have this refrigerant. And it just seemed to make a lot more sense than as opposed to send it out, make a repair. We could just buy the machine and have it on hand for those future repairs. As Tom was mentioning, the way the components are in the vehicle, this is going to get used a lot more than even I was thinking. I was thinking it was just strictly for a air conditioning recharge, but that is not necessarily the case. When they take some of the equipment out, they need to take the refrigerant out, and then to be able to get the other parts repaired as they go through. So a lot more involved than I had originally thought.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, resolution is approved. Resolution 3 is to approve the contract extension with HydroCore to continue the City of Allen Park's cross-connection program to cover the 2025-26 program years with $0 increase for residential and an annual increase of $3,024 for commercial with funds from account 592-549-78-004. Motion, please.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Schlack.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lloyd. Mr. Murray.
Good evening. So this is a requirement of EAGLE, the state of Michigan, and the EPA, that you have cross-connection programs for your residential and your commercial accounts. So we cannot get anybody sick from things backflowing, from chemicals to fertilizers to many different items. This is an extension of 2 more years. They give us 2-year contracts. We did this 2 years ago. And originally, they came up with an $8,000 increase for residential and $3,000 something that you see currently for the commercial. I reached back to them and told them that that was not acceptable, and they decided to waive the increase of $8,000 for the residential per year. So as I see it, this is a very good deal to get 2 years at $6,000 with inflation and different rising costs and labor costs. They were willing to keep us as a client. So this is gonna cover the next 2 years at $3,000 total cost allocation on top of what we do.
Any questions from council? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, resolution is approved. Resolution 4 is to approve, with the recommendation of the city engineer, the utilization of the current sewer lining contract that the city of Livonia has with SAK Pipeline, which was the lowest qualified bid, to do the sewer lining in the city of Allen Park at a cost of $300,000 with funds from account 592-545-986-000. Motion.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Lloyd. Second by Ms. Nick. Murray, you're up again.
Okay, so we have a lining contract that we just completed in June, going to the fiscal year has expired. We were looking for a new lining contract due to that linear. The company that was doing them linings did about $30,000 of the $400,000 we allocated last year due to they just don't have the people, have the means or the methods to do so. So with getting with many communities around us, we found that they were going with this company. This company hired several members of a company we started back 20-something years ago that I started with here. It was called Liquiforce, if you've ever heard of them. They sold. So when they sold, it was to the inliner that we had previously. Well, a lot of them employees were disgruntled with the way that was operating as well and came to this company, SAC, who them employees are very good employees. They get stuff done, they do a quality job, everything of that nature. So Livonia had just bid this out, and Livonia told me that we could ride that contract, and so did SAC if we so see fit to do so. I ran the prices by our engineering group, and their engineering group said the prices are very good, competitive pricing, and they advised that we probably should try to ride on that contract. This contract will be for 3 years with the possibility of a 2-year extension with no price increases over that term. This also, helps with the sewers to reline and rehab them. Our city being as old as it is, and in most communities around here, you probably should continue to do that so we don't have any issues.
As we hear the rain pouring down.
Yeah, I know.
Are there any questions of Mr. Murray?
I do. The last company, the old company that we had, I know they didn't fulfill their promise with you.
No, they did
So did
not.
we get any refund back from them?
There's nothing to refund. I never paid them. They only did $30,000 worth of work. So what the 400 and the 300 you see is in our capital improvement plan. When you see that in the budget, it's under that area. We pay the invoices as they do the work.
Okay.
So therefore, that money actually you approved to buy a pump with it because I seen that we were not going to get the work and we needed a pump. So therefore, we didn't have to make a budget adjustment, and we could use that funding for that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, just want to reconfirm, this is the relining of the sewer line?
It's new lining. So most our sewer lines don't have actual liners. These are like fiberglass hard liners. They look a lot like a fiberglass cloth, and then you have the hardening agent in it. You put steam or hot water, depending on which liner you're needing for that line specific, and it hardens and activates it. It gives it usually a 50 to 100-year shelf life, they say. That's what they state. There's many past 50, and they still don't know what the actual shelf life is, but it's much more than 50. It makes your old sewer could crumble around it and fall off, and you still have a sewer, a viable sewer, yes. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Learn something every day. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? resolution is approved. Resolution number 5. We're back to 5. Thank you. I got myself confused with too many numbers here. Resolution 5, to ratify the actions of the city administrator regarding the finance department and the hiring of Carl Johnson as a part-time employee at an hourly rate of $70, and changing Amanda Wirtz from an independent contractor to a part-time employee at an hourly rate of $70, which was the same as the original. May I have a motion, please?
Motion, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Lloyd. Do I have a second? We need to have a finance person, particularly with the bond. Am I in position to second the motion? Pass the gavel.
Could we have a little, maybe we could have a discussion on this?
Do we want to have any discussion on this?
Yeah, we asked for a discussion at the work session.
No, we didn't get to this at the work session.
Well-
We were talking about the bonds, so we never really got.
But we had an opportunity. So we have a discussion now?
I'll start. I think that we're in a situation here, so just so everybody at home understands the situation we're in as well. The plan was to go with the GAP PM. Because of the fact that they are also our auditor, and we have to keep that bridge between them, many of the things that we needed them to do to be able to operate as our finance director, they are simply unable to do. So we would have been paying them an outrageous amount of money to be able to only do a half or a third of the job. This is information that came to light between our 2 council sessions. And we are in a situation where we are running a city. It was a $25 million corporation that we are running on a day-to-day basis. Not we, that Mr. Kibbe is running on a day-to-day basis. And in order for that $25 million corporation to run, we need to be able to have somebody that is going to be able to fill not only the bond requirements that we just approved and that we all agree is absolutely essential, but the day-to-days of running this business. And that is absolutely crucial. So, I mean, I'm speaking in support of this. I obviously think that this is incredibly important that we move forward with it. And that's my feelings on it.
Okay. Looking at the paperwork that I received, Carl Johnson is full-time in Novi. He also has 4 other cities that he works part-time for. That means Allen Park would be a 5th one. I don't think he would have the time to have Allen Park. I mean, he just seems like he has a lot on his plate already. Okay, we just passed, 1 or 2 meetings ago to have Ms. Wirtz on a part-time, 1099. Okay, we would look at this again in October, around October. So I don't understand where all of a sudden it changed when we just discussed this and just voted on this recently.
Yeah, please.
No, just through the chair, and I'm glad you bring that up. So with respect to Amanda, the IRS, oftentimes we like to call people, quote, 1099 people, independent contractors. So the true independent contractors, like you hire a painter, right? The painter comes to your house, they have their own truck, they have their own paint, you just pay them a fee, there's no discretion. That is a true independent contractor. When you have an individual where you provide a place to work, and there's some oversight of their job, you move closer and closer to being an employee. Amanda, as far as, you know, her tasks, just like anyone who's doing work for the city, except a true independent contractor like myself. It is appropriate to call us independent contractors, but she really is more of an employee. And I apologize, I probably should have brought that up at that last meeting.
Yes, you should.
And, but I did not, and I apologize for not bringing that up. So I think that's on me with respect to her.
And I believe that was discussed, and that's why you guys said that we were paying her the $70 an hour, because she was a 1099, because I remember Councilman Marcos asking that in the workshop about that. And that's where you came up, because I asked, where did the $70 an hour come up from? And the response was because she was a 1099 employee. So, but now, we're still want to give her $70 an hour, which I think is too high. And I'm not
What's your
comfortable.
solution to the problem? What's your solution to the problem? Because I gave you the solution. This council has to understand, you are not in a position of control on finance directors. This is a position that is going to be extremely hard to fill. I need an answer of what you're gonna do, because I'm stressed out. I'm at my wit's end of what to do. I don't know how else to handle doing the best job we can for the city, for the citizens, if we're not gonna have the right people to be able to approve.
Well, one thing is that maybe we should get some of our paperwork ahead of time, like the bond. I thought we were gonna have a meeting on the bond, and then it's given to me this week. And then about the Amanda, maybe we should have a workshop and discuss these
Can
different
I ask
things.
a question? I don't know what kind of meeting you thought we were gonna have on the
You had
bond.
mentioned it,
The
ma'am.
the bond people came in and explained things to us. There's a process that we go through. We did the publication. There isn't much to be discussed. It's in the hands of professionals. I don't know about you, but I tend not to micromanage, and I'm not a bond expert, and I'm not a finance expert, and I leave that up to the experts. And perhaps it's because I've been through this before with this building, and I've been through it with the Downriver Utility Wastewater Authority. You indicate what your needs might be, you go through the process of the publication, et cetera, and then they come back and they tell you this is the next step. So I don't understand what the question is on the bond. But to get back to the finance director, it was pretty clear in this memo, which we all got our material on Friday. And believe me, I know organizations where they meet on a Monday and they don't get their material until Friday. Amanda cannot continue to do the full boatload. She is, as it indicates in this memo, she will be assisting with day-to-day operations and audit preparation. This gentleman is very highly regarded. He is apparently a workaholic. He is able to fit this in. The part-time, he balances his part-time, and he is going to be able to devote the time that we need for him to get us through to the posting of the position by the MML with the candidates applying, with an interview process, and then finally getting a finance director.
And he has to become a part-time city employee, he cannot be a contractor?
Exactly,
Yes.
because he's going to be dealing with.
That is the best way to do it. That way, it's not subject to any question with the IRS.
And I think in particular with them handling the finances of a city, you would want them to be that way. I think you have better control over it.
So where are we with the HR with hiring a finance director?
I think that that was supplied in the packet as far as what was given to the MML and what is being posted.
Have we had any applicants? I mean, I don't know.
I
how far
think it's
along
just
we
been
are.
posted. There was a complete packet that was
Yes,
provided and
I
it's just
received
been
it.
posted.
Yep, it went live last Tuesday. We won't receive the applications. That'll be handled by the MML, so all that information will go to the MML.
Chair,
Yes,
so these become permanent positions,
no,
or are they temporary?
they're temporary.
They are temporary. I don't see anything in here where it says temporary.
It says part-time,
Part-time is not temporary.
true.
Can we amend the language? I mean, we could amend the language right now in this resolution.
Yep.
Resolution to the action city administrator regarding the finance department hiring of temporary part-time employee.
Yep.
You could add at will.
At will.
Review it back in October like we originally had discussed.
I think that would be reasonable.
Council, I'd be honest, I did not expect anything different from what we'd already approved. It was just making the change on these, that we need to have these people in place to help us get through the operations of the city of Allen Park.
So at-will temporary part-time employees.
And then to be reviewed in October. And then at that point, if we have issue, then it's an at-will temporary employee.
Just through the chair, may I speak, Your Honor?
Yes.
I mean, if you found someone and, you know, as soon as you found a replacement, you would then reconsider whether or not you want them here anymore.
Well, I'm assuming that once we find a
You want them
replacement,
to
we'll
train.
transition.
I mean, I don't know what all the nuances of it are, but I think if a person was hired, it would have to be clear to them that they're at-will employees, and that these are not, you make a good point, they're not permanent employees.
Through the chair, real quick, I just want to ask one clarification to Councilwoman, excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem Nick's point. As far as, so they are going to be, it's an hourly rate, so I'm assuming that both Amanda and, I'm assuming that both Amanda and Carl are going to be giving us bi-weekly invoices? That's how it's going to work?
They'll submit the time through the program, computer program timesheets.
So if Mr. Johnson doesn't get to work, he doesn't get paid. So he's only getting paid for the work that he does, right? That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
And I think that the October review date is reasonable because the applications have to be in by the close of business on September 18th. And then you're going to have to start the process of going through they'll have to go through those applications and then submit the ones that we should be considering. By the time that's done, we will probably be well into October before we can make any hiring.
And through the chair, I would just like to make a point of information that Carl Johnson was here before the emergency manager. He was our finance director previously. The same thing where it was brought up, he was in multiple cities. Every one of those cities were contacted and they were told, yeah, we know, he's that good. And I don't personally know him, I just know he represented us and he did steer us well through the chair. And so he does have Allen Park experience, so.
And how many hours a week are we anticipating that they're gonna be working each one? Because before we said
Yeah.
Amanda would probably be 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna change on 8 to 10 for her, and probably about the same for Carl, is he's gonna focus on the audit area. So she'll handle before she was gonna handle audit prep, and PM Gap was gonna handle more of the day-to-day, that cannot be done. So she's gonna handle the day-to-day operation, which is approval of the invoices, so you can have those for your, for pay, for the accounts payable. Payroll, she's able to do a lot of the same operations that she was, doing here, that she can do either remotely or coming in here. She's in here in the evening or in the morning and the weekends as well.
Through the chair.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure I'm correct in this thinking, because I might not. So this audit is specifically for this, the bond that we were looking. No, the audit,
No,
the
the
yearly
city
audit.
audit.
Yeah, I got it.
That's right.
But when we are going out for this bond governance, so the fact that you have that is something that is considered when they're looking at interest rates, is that my understanding?
Yeah, so in the office earlier this evening before the study session, I was talking to Stefan, and happened to be here. He made a comment that you'll be part-time good, because that shows she's still stable with the community. As I mentioned before, unstable management is not a good, not good view from the rating agencies. That could be anywhere from 5 basis point to 25 basis points, Nick, against the
Yeah,
the rate that you're gonna receive, the rate that you'll receive.
yeah, which could be hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars.
If I calculated right, a 25% or 25 basis point could be on a 25-year bond, I think it was $158,000.
So I would like to, through the chair, motion to ratify the actions of the city administrator regarding the finance department, the hiring of Carl Johnson as a temporary part-time employee,
Part-time at will.
as a temporary part-time at-will employee at an hourly rate of $70, and changing Amanda Wirtz from an independent contractor to a temporary part-time at-will employee at an hourly rate of $70, both of which to be reviewed at the first October council meeting. Does that read?
Thank you.
I make
I
that
have a
motion.
motion by Mr. Lloyd. Do I have a second?
Accepted. Mr. Barr?
I mean, even not to exceed October 2024, right?
October 2024. And can I just, a rules question? Once we have a second, we can have a discussion on it, and then everyone would be free to vote however they want on it. So the October 2024, so let me get a date on there. October 8th, 2024.
And point of information, at any time, you could terminate as a council. I mean, they're at will, but that doesn't mean, are they ready to go? Are we ready? Motion to terminate the employment of part-time temporary John Smith. So please remember that also. And also a point of information, bond rating is huge, people. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We have a motion by Mr. Lloyd. Do I have a second? We are here for the residents. We are here for this community. We are here to do the best job possible.
Through the chair, if I may speak, since I haven't spoken on this matter yet either.
No, I would like to have a second before we have any more discussion on this. I mean, everybody had these items on Friday. There's emails, and we know that people email and text at ungodly hours of the day and night, regardless of what the communication is. If it's something that's very important, there are people who are available to answer questions. But to come to a council meeting and posture the way you're posturing is unconscionable.
Do the right thing.
This is, I mean, just point of order. You know, Gary, you could second it and still vote against it.
I will tell you that Mr. Marcos asked the question about the time that was being put in, and I have an email from Mr. Valerius, who regrets not being here because of a school function he had to attend. He asked the question of, just so he understood about what the hourly rate was, et cetera, and the day-to-day operations. He asked for the clarification and said, yes, he understood it correctly. And I would assume that if they were here, one of them would have supported this, but. So we can do without any
Through the
finance.
chair, I'd like, so if this doesn't go through at all, we have no finance director. in the
Correct.
And we're gonna float bonds in $8.1 million.
Correct.
Please help us, God.
So you're telling me that Amanda would not stay on then? Is that what you're saying?
Anyway,
So we can just wait. I mean, let's just sit here. Because we can't move on.
please, no comments from the audience.
Just sit.
Still request to speak for the chair if I could.
Go ahead.
I looked at this and I looked at, first with Mr. Johnson, it does seem that he does have a lot of tasks. And I'd be willing to compromise this because I feel like you could split this resolution into two. I think there's two different things there. I think to join them in as one resolution is not beneficial, considering that I feel we just went on to last month talk about Ms. Wertz as an appointed employee. I don't really think that has a big issue into it, especially when you consider when she resigned, apparently resigned. And I say apparent because most of the council was not privileged, apparently, to see even her resignation letter. I don't even know why that was part of it. And I thank her for years of service and as a full-time employee, but now we're just, someone can resign a month later, we're just gonna bring them back. I have concerns about that, especially when we're looking at the price $70. And if you add that up, say she does happen to work 20 hours as a part-time employee, we're then looking at potentially $72,000 a year. Is this like compensate her income? I mean, I feel that just to put her on that position, and yes, I know we could wheel and deal and fire and terminate him as employee, but when we put someone as employee, that's a bad taste, that we immediately have to look at that. So I really don't see the difference as an independent contractor and what we have now. I really don't.
Well, if I could, I think that Mr. Corvera tried to explain the difference between the independent. And as far as the hourly rate, again, maybe it's because of the background I come from, but I tend to be more objective when I look at what people are paid, and I don't sit there and equate it with what am I being paid, and is it fair? If we were to take Ms. Wertz's annual salary and come up with an hourly rate, it would have been far more than $70 an hour. And so we are actually getting a bargain from a very conscientious individual who found it very difficult to leave. And the reason that her resignation was not communicated immediately to council was because we were still trying to get her to stay with us. And so there was not anything that was final. But at any rate, we all can take a different approach in how we look at what we pay people. We can either go for quality, or we can live with what we had to live with in the past, which brought us a financial emergency manager when you bring in people who don't know what they're doing as far as being either a city administrator or a finance director, and you pay that price. Right now, we are in a critical situation. We're in a situation where we have the benefit of having our former finance director continue with us to give us the stability we need to get bonds at a good rating. I don't know, maybe a little over $100,000 seems like an inconsequential amount, but we could do a heck of a lot with $100,000. And, the fact that we're sitting here, perhaps the idea of separating them is fine, but I think that Mr. Corvera fully explained why it would be better to have her, why we should be showing her as a part-time temporary employee. Again, it gives more credence to the fact that we have some stability in this community with that finance person. To sit here and talk about individuals that we sorely need to perform functions for this community at $70 an hour, where they're only going to get paid for the actual work they do, and we're doing this and potentially jeopardizing the rate that we get for a bond. I'm trying to make sense of it. In the terms of someone that I used to work with, please help me understand.
Well, you mentioned a few things there that I'm curious about. You said the best interest, the best people, the best this and that. Just to say that we're bringing someone back that fully resigned on her own behalf does not necessarily imply that's going to be the very best person for the city. I'm just, just doesn't make sense. I still don't see the difference between an independent contractor that we agreed upon talking about this, and then we are then changing the language at the dais when we could have, that language could have been there from the get-go.
But
Just,
but we can change the language,
and then just to say, to terminate someone, like, oh, we could just terminate them.
we can't.
Yeah, we could, like, how often does that happen, though?
I mean, it's happened. It's happened and when you've been on council. I mean, we've witnessed it. Like, you can come into the next meeting, and if you have the 4 votes, you can terminate them. So that is something, well, there's a lot to unpack here. First off, the best person for the job. I think that's worth talking about. Because it doesn't matter, it's not like we're not making cogs. The person that's the finance director of any organization has to have intimate knowledge of the institution that they are the finance director of to be able to make those decisions. I don't care if we were able to get Jerome Powell himself to come down and to handle the finances of the city of Allen Park. I don't think that he could do as good a job as Amanda Wirtz because he doesn't know what our books are. And anybody that's worth their salt is going to spend a good amount of time that we are going to pay them to do, to get to know the books before they're going to make a decision. And I understand being upset. I do. And if I do understand being upset, not having the information. I get that. That is reasonable. That is a reasonable thing to be upset about. And that's something that we can discuss, and that we can talk about, and that we can make better. I think that you've made that abundantly clear that that's what's at issue here. Let's fix that problem. But before we do that, we need to have a finance director. We need to have somebody. So if we do not ratify this, tomorrow, open business, the city of Allen Park does not have a finance director.
So Amanda would not stay as a part-time. You're saying if we don't ratify this, then she is gone permanently. I mean,
I'm not saying not permanently.
So she wouldn't continue working.
But this entity has the ability to employ individuals. And right now, we would be, I mean, perhaps not. We definitely wouldn't have Mr. Johnson. Absolutely wouldn't have them. True. I mean, I don't see why Amanda would. I think that it's important that if we're bringing somebody in, that they be on that same playing field, that they have those same conditions. And I understand, again, like Nancy, you bring up a good point. And Joe acknowledges it. You brought that up when Dennis brought it up when we were discussing it. Is there a reason that you think that $70 an hour is too high for a finance director?
I do think it's a little too high, but we discussed this, okay? At our whenever we had the meeting, and it was brought up in the workshop, and I asked, how did you come up with the number? And then we were told, because she would be filling out a 1099, and she'd have to pay for her own, so that's where you came up with the amount of $70.
Right, because she would have to pay her full,
Correct.
the 15.5% Social Security. But regardless of that, it is still a reasonable amount to pay someone who may not have to pay the full amount. Again, if you go back and you took her annual salary and you calculated the hourly rate, her hourly rate would be well above the $70 an hour. Well above.
For the purposes of expediency, make a resolution and we'll handle these each individually.
You want to call them 5A and 5B?
So yes, I would like to make the motion.
Could I just, here's just, before you make a resolution, can we make sure we're all understanding what the disagreement is?
I'm not really sure.
Joe?
I mean, so whether, so the disagreement, and that's why I want to make two different resolutions, because it sounds like
Well,
we're talking about
maybe
two different
Mr.
issues.
Barr could explain his concern, or.
Yeah, before we make the resolution. Make sure
That's
we're-
my
or
point.
Make sure we're
I-
addressing
you're-
all of the
you're gonna be-
concerns before we make a
You're gonna be
resolution.
crafting something which may, without necessarily understanding.
Well, my thought is that let's start with Mr. Johnson, and that we will make the motion for him to be a temporary, part-time, at-will employee to be reviewed at the October 8th council session. And then we'll do Amanda. Is that reasonable? Is that addressing the issue before I make the motion?
Originally, I thought it was the end of the month, not the beginning.
Oh, okay, so the 22nd. You mean the end of October to review?
Yeah.
Sure, October 22nd?
Because that's only a month.
Sure, that's very short time period. Is that everybody with me? I move to ratify the actions of the city administrator regarding the finance department and the hiring of Carl Johnson as a temporary, part-time, at-will employee, the hourly rate of $70 to be reviewed at the October 22nd, 2024 council meeting. I make that motion.
Second.
Comments or questions?
I just want to reiterate, I think that we've already kind of covered all this. He's a busy man. We've called all of the places that he is currently working for. All of the places he is currently working for are happy with him, and we are only paying him for the work that he does for the city. So if he doesn't have time, we don't pay him for it. Is that accurate, Mr. Kibbe?
So if he doesn't have time and doesn't complete this, where do we stand as a city?
Well, then I think that if he doesn't have time and he doesn't complete this, then we discuss this before the October 22nd council meeting.
Because it does say in our papers that he has made it abundantly clear that Novi is his first priority.
Well,
And then he has those other 4 cities.
so we're looking at 10 hours out of the guy,
Okay,
right? I think Novi's getting 40.
Right.
So it's the same thing that we have a situation with Amanda where, so, okay, so now we are in discussion. So we're back into the rules, which makes me feel good. So, if he doesn't, then in a month and a half, then we can make a decision to do something else. But I think that this is the immediate answer. I mean, and I think that you will have the answer to your question in at least a month's time. In a month's time, so even before we get to that, in a month's time, if it looks like he can't handle this work, then we move on. And then we try something else.
But actually, I just went through a chair, can I say something? I mean, if you find someone to hire, you're gonna move on.
Absolutely.
Let's say if someone shows up in 3 weeks, here's a resume, Mark's gonna, I assume, I don't wanna speak for Mark, but Mark gets a resume and they look good, he's gonna come running to you, right? And say, hey, let's interview this person.
And then we'll move on.
You'll get rid of it.
Either way.
Well,
I mean, the likelihood of that happening,
Minimum.
I don't know, but
well, not when we've got a position that's open till, when you can apply until September 18th, but we'll see how many come in on that. I did have the opportunity to meet him the other evening. I would assume that Mr. Johnson, who seems to be well-known throughout the various communities, and as Mike pointed out, once worked here at Allen Park, has a level of integrity that would not permit him to accept this position if he didn't feel he could fulfill his obligations to our community, particularly since, again, he has a history with Allen Park.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Again, I apologize for showing up late, but I left my open house and came straight here. So, again, just to be clear, it's a less expensive option to the city for the hourly rate, both to Mr. Johnson and Ms. Wertz, than it would be for the PM gap. Just clarification on that.
Correct. The PM cap person that that they've assigned to us so far is at, I believe, $180 an hour.
So it's a less expensive option to the city of Allen Park.
Correct.
Correct. And furthermore, the PM gap, they can't even assist us with a number of city issues, correct? Because of the separation between that and the PM audit group, correct?
Correct, which potentially puts your audit in jeopardy.
Correct.
Which could cost us a lot more.
Correct.
You'd be sanctioned by the state of Michigan for not submitting an audit by December 31st. They'll be doing the audit in October.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? On 5A, Mr. Carl Johnson.
Can I request a roll call?
Certainly.
Okay, this one's, so they were broken up. Let me get this straight.
Yes,
Okay, and this one's just Carl Johnson.
Correct.
correct.
Okay, and so I have a resolution to ratify the actions of the city administrator regarding Carl Johnson as a temporary, part-time, at-will employee at an hourly rate of $70 an hour until where discussion will come up again October 22nd, 2024. That's the motion.
Yep.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Lloyd, supported by Mr. Valerius. Shall this resolution pass? Councilman Barr?
No.
Councilwoman Nick?
Yes.
Councilman Schlack?
Yes.
Councilman Lloyd?
Yes.
And Councilman Valerius?
Yes.
And Mayor McLeod?
Yes,
The yeses have it.
thank you. 5B,
So, resolution. Change Amanda Wirtz from a independent contractor to a temporary, part-time, at-will employee at the hourly rate of $70 an hour to be reviewed at the October 22nd, 2024 council meeting. Motion.
Second.
that's Mr. Lloyd and Mr. Valerius again. Comments or questions?
Roll call. Vote.
I would like Mr. Cover to explain again why this is preferable.
Yeah, and, you know, again, I apologize for that. I even thought of, after the meeting, I even talked to a man about creating an LLC and have a little business for herself, but that really would have been somewhat onerous for her. And just, so the IRS looks at work relationships, and certain work relationships, even though we want to call them independent contractors, are really not. The IRS classifies people as employees. And her relationship with the city, because she comes in the city provides a workspace, work, basically everything she needs for work. She's better classified as a part-time employee.
Through the chair.
Yes,
To clarify.
As an employee, excuse me. Whether or not she's part-time, that's your decision.
She's given space here to work. She's still using her office. She's still using the city computer, correct?
email address.
Email address. So in all those facets, and I want to ask this too, because I just Mr. Kibbe's comment that he had with I missed his last name, Stefan. That having her as a employee versus an independent contractor is something that could come up in these bond discussions that we're going to be having here in a month and a half.
So the the city's gonna have to go through a rating
Yeah.
process, and stability of the management staff is a key factor.
And and that aside, I want to emphasize the fact that the things that Ms. Wertz is doing, the day-to-day, she is the one that has been doing it for the past 4 years. She's the one that understands it. And that, again, especially since we're talking about paying somebody an hourly rate, anybody that is going to come in and do that job is going to have to get up to speed with it. And since we are just now hiring in Mr. Johnson as a part-time employee, I think that it is only logical that we have both the people that we have filling that position on the same footing.
Any other comments?
Yeah, so
Well,
you're saying that, Mark, that it would hurt our bond rating. So according to what Councilman Lloyd said, wouldn't a temporary at will saying that employee also hurt our bond rating?
No, Stefan's comment was, you'll be part-time, and when she said yes, that is what gives a little bit more stability, because if she's not, then she has to disclose that. If she's still a part-time employee, she's still an employee.
Yeah, I would imagine some smaller communities employ individuals like that part-time. Interesting point. But being specified as an employee has an impact. Any other questions? You want to do roll call, Michael?
I will, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
I have a motion by Councilman Lloyd, supported by Councilman Valerius, and that would be to ratify the actions of the city administrator regarding the finance department and change Amanda Wertz from an independent contractor to a part-time at-will employee to be looked at again October 22nd, 2024, at an hourly rate of $70 an hour.
Yeah, temporary.
Temporary, I apologize. Temporary part-time. So we'll start, shall this resolution pass, Councilman Lloyd?
Yes.
Mayor McLeod?
Yes.
Councilman Schlack?
No.
Councilman Barr?
No.
And Councilwoman Nick?
No.
Councilman Valerius?
Yes.
It's a tie vote, so the motion is moved. Will that negate the previous resolution then?
No, they're separate, but it will impact our bond. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And the residents all thank you too. Because what's $100,000 in interest, right? Resolution 6, to ratify the action of the city administrator regarding the emergency installation of 329 feet of 4-foot galvanized commercial-grade fence and one 10-foot double gate by Brady's Fence, currently contracted at a cost not to exceed $8,380. Motion.
Motion, Mayor.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lloyd, second by Mr. Barr.
This is just ratification of action that was taken to install the fence at Church Teller baseball field. As you recall, at the prior council meeting, the council approved redoing the baseball diamond. That cost of that investment was $34,000. The other field that was done was at Brand Park. I think the total was $58,000 for both of them. The problem that we had here is we've had a unauthorized motor vehicle tearing up the field, and in order to protect that investment, we decided we needed to enclose the fence. So I provided a drawing of that to kind of show you where it was at. So prior fencing was along the outfield from foul line to foul line in the curvature. And then also from about the third base, maybe a little bit further than down third baseline, around home plate, and then back down the first baseline, covering the dugouts and so forth. So this just connected the two, both sides of the right field line and the left field line. They also included a gate, a 10-foot gate, to allow for the recreation to get in and be able to maintain the field. And then the kids will be able to enter and exit the field through the dugouts.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 7, to approve the purchase of furniture for the small conference room in the amount of $6,138, including labor to assemble and install the furniture with funds from account 101-172-962-000.
Motion, Mayor.
Second.
Mr. Lloyd, second
Second.
by Mr. Valerius. Comments or questions?
Yes, I just have a question on the labor, and Councilman Marcos had emailed me earlier saying that that price was fixed or changed, but I didn't see where that did change. The labor was $1,275. Do we not have anybody here? And I know office equipment is more delicate in putting together, but I didn't know if we had anybody that's on staff.
Me and Matt put together the last ones, and I'm not putting them together again. Not putting the chairs. We spent 3 or 4 hours ourselves back there just on these chairs. I'm not installing tables as well, so
Yeah, I think there's better use of your time, particularly at your hourly rate.
Marcos had messaged me, so, and he told me he was gonna be here, but unfortunately he isn't, so I was asking.
the purpose of this was this is the conference room that's up in the, by the subway door. As I mentioned in the email, or in the memo, when we moved in here, we tried to utilize everything we could as best we could. So some of this furniture came to us from Roush. It's some of the stuff that we had from the old church, City Hall, going back in the years and that. So just looking to update that. So the conference room chairs would be the exact same ones that are back here, the sit-on brand. And then the table is very similar to the one that's in the police conference room or the DPS conference room. If you've been to either one of those, that sleek look in that. So the other part of that will be to obviously clear some of that stuff out of there, and then utilize. There's 2 filing cabinets that we acquired. I think we actually acquired them from Mark's Moda about a year and a half ago. And they'll put a top on that, so you'll create like a credenza, very similar to what you have in the back here underneath the TV for storage of any equipment and so forth.
And the furniture that's in there, where will we utilize that at?
If anybody's interested, let me know.
I mean, I did look in there the other day. The table looked fine. I understand the chairs. I do understand that.
Yeah, I don't have any need for them in any of the offices here.
Right.
At all. I don't want to say recreation because they became nope, they're saying no.
Kyle's like, no way.
They become the dumping zone for some stuff, unfortunately.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved. Move on to elected officials' comments, and tonight we start with Mr. Lloyd.
Oh, geez. Start with me, huh? I had some things. So one thing, and this actually I already written down, it had nothing to do with this conversation that we had in the back, and I think that it's worth acknowledging now, that because we have an A+ rating, when we go in and go for these bonds, it is going to save the citizens of Allen Park a significant amount of money in doing this fire station. When we were going through, and Clerk Mizzy would probably know, but I believe we were triple B, C rating bonds At the height of the emergency financial manager? C.
Yeah.
C, which you don't need to be a financial person. You just need to have attended, grade school to understand. Thank you. That's worse than A+. And the reason that we are today an A+ rating is from the efforts of Mark Kibbe, Amanda Wirtz, and Bob Katie before her. That's it. That's the reason. That's the reason. And if you don't think that, I would be very curious as to where you were during that time that we were improving as a city. Because we were in such dire financial straits. Such dire financial straits that the state of Michigan, and I don't think I've ever had a chance to talk about this up here. Mr. Kibbe has promised never to say those words, emergency financial manager. If you knew my dad, and I'm sorry that I talk about him so much, but he's so influential into my life and why I'm sitting here. So I apologize. I apologize to my kids for talking about my students for talking about my son so much. As a government teacher, and that democracy, the fact that we got to govern ourselves is the most important thing. That we got to rule ourselves, and we were so bad that the state of Michigan said, no, you don't get to make decisions about your city anymore. It was so bad. And it is very difficult to look at that situation and to look at 3 individuals that had a bigger role in getting us out of that situation. And as a history teacher, it's really important to know. It's really important to know. Okay? The past doesn't always repeat itself, but it certainly can. It certainly can. The reason I chose to run for this position is because I want to make sure that my students have a secure financial future in this city. And I understand the concerns. And honestly, I have utmost respect. I have utmost respect for my colleagues up here. The reason I have utmost respect for my colleagues up here is because you're the ones that circulated petitions. You put your names on the ballot. You went out there and knocked on doors. You put signs in people's lawns. And you're up here, and you're the ones in the arena. And you are up to public criticism and all the things that go with that. But it's concerning to me. And I recognize your concerns. I recognize them. But I am very concerned with playing games with our financial future. That I find it very concerning. And I at least would have hoped, because I do respect everybody up here, that if somebody did have misgivings about something that was on this agenda, that they would have at least given me a phone call. Say, hey, Dan, I'm really concerned about this. We already said this for Amanda for one rate, because I came in today, and I very, very rarely do I come up here. And everybody at home, everybody in the audience, this is how the sausage gets made. Like, most of these things, like, we will have, like, it's at least a phone call, say, hey, I have concerns. Out of respect for me as a council person, someone that also put my name on the ballot, that put the signs out there. And I would have tried to talk you out of it, and I may have been successful, and I may not have been. But at the very least, we would have had the conversation. And I think that it's good that we have these conversations in person, but I don't think that it's fair to anybody to blindside one of your colleagues. That's all that I ask. For this body to function, I really, and if I come off as angry, I don't want to. Because again, utmost respect for everybody up here. I appreciate your time that you put to this city, And I stand by this. I stand by this. This is like core to my being and how I do this job, that everybody that's in this room is operating with the best interests of the city of Allen Park. In your view, you are operating to that. And I will never give up that belief. I will never give up that belief. I would ask for a little faith as well. And to pick up the phone and have a conversation. That's all I ask. I think that Ms. Wirtz, Amanda, is absolutely crucial to the success that we found as the city. And it is very unfortunate that we lost her. And honestly, it's very questionable as to whether or not we'll be able to replace her. Because that's the situation. And I can pass along the article, I believe it was in Bridge Magazine, about the shortage of financial officers. It is a serious concern. It is a serious concern. School year starts next week. That's very, very exciting. I got all green on today. You guys can't see my shoes. I think that Councilman Blevins would appreciate them. I got green Vans on that go with my green pants and my green shirt. So I just want to wish luck to everybody going back to school. And I am sure that all the parents that have school-aged children will breathe a sigh of relief having their children out of the house. I am very, very much. I went into my first day of work today. I believe, like Mr. Valerius, first day after the summer. And I don't always feel this way at the end of summer, but I am excited for it. And my last thing I want to say, my mom had knee replacement surgery last Monday, so my sister and I have been tag teaming, spending time there. As you all know, she has a Friday pickup for garbage. And her garbage was picked up around 2 o'clock, and her recycling was picked up around like 5:15 on that Friday. So I was like, hallelujah, amen, all those things that go with that. I am just very, very appreciative that we're getting back into that priority is able to catch up with the workload, and that maybe we can get some semblance of normalcy, especially before all of those leaves start coming down to the ground. Thank you all so much. Good night. And I yield.
Thank you. Ms. Nick?
Yeah, mine will be short and sweet. I just want to thank all the residents and everybody for their prayers and support for my daughter who went through a very delicate 7-hour surgery. I did not leave her side. We were at West Bloomfield and Henry Ford. I cannot give them too much, credit. They were phenomenal. They were excellent. She had a top surgeon. So she is doing better. So I just want to thank everybody for your prayers and support out there, and stay safe and God bless.
Yeah. Mr. Valerius?
Again, I just wanted to apologize for being late to the meeting. However, happy I got here in time to at least vote on the resolutions that were reviewed while I was here. Kind of reiterating some things that my fellow council member Dan Lloyd had said. This isn't a place for personal agendas. It's not a place for me or my or I. We work as a governing body, as a city council. And again, the team that we have in place, and people make accusations that, everyone just keeps talking, talking up, Mr. Kibbe and the team that we have in place, but it's not just talk, it's the reality of the situation, like Dan mentioned. All the things that happened with our bond rating was because of the team that we have in place. The grants that we've received for the historical home, all these grants that we've received were because of Mr. Kibbe and the team that we have in place. It's a lot of money. I think, $470,000 so far for the historical home alone? All because of grants applied for and written by Mark Kibbe. financial situation we're in, again, was improved upon by the team that's in place. That also included Amanda Wirtz. So, yes, I'm frustrated because I think what happened here tonight cost the city of Allen Park residents quite a bit of money. I don't think we even realize the cost of it. Hopefully, the people at home that take the time to watch this, watch and listen and understand as well. I really don't have much more to say than that, so with that, I yield.
Thank you. Mr. Barr?
I'm gonna give some shout outs to Downriver Animal Control. Just shortly after our last meeting, there was a rather large dead squirrel in the neighbor's yard. They were out there within a couple hours to remove it. I have to say thank you to them. To all of our staff, police, fire, DPS, office staff, you guys do a great job. Something to reiterate with Dan, school is starting up. And I want to ask everybody to watch for the kids. Watch for the yellow buses with the red lights flashing and the control arms out. Please stop when you see that. As for the trash pickup with priority, it's getting a lot better than what it was. Yes, there are still a few hiccups, but I'm pretty satisfied with their performance lately. And I believe there's a couple games this week. Go Spartans, go Wolverines, and go Lions. So, other than that, nothing more.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Schlack?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to start by saying congrats again to Officer Ellie Cox for swearing in and becoming a new officer, so that's always exciting to see and take part in that process. I did want to say that I'm excited by the bond that we passed today in the resolution. I definitely see the need for our fire station, and I see everything that is involved with the process, something that we've all reviewed and looked at. More information we get and have would be better fill in anyone that might have questions about it. And I look now at City Hall, and I'm thankful for what we have accomplished, and I know we have a lot of things to come. And I know there's ways that we can do things better, I feel. I feel that's why I submitted recently a list of over 30 rules and procedures to my colleagues to review. We have yet reviewed those, but in my opinion, that would make more efficient meetings. I think certain things could be done to do so, and I think that is hand in hand with what goes with what we see in the administration. You know, we, our leaders, are here, are open, and decisions are cleared. We know that voices of the citizens matter, so we need to be as transparent as possible. And I, too, care for the future. I think everyone up here does, too, about the future of our financial security. And I feel that's why it's important that we look at avenues and not fill in gaps with every council person. Every council person should be on board and hear everything that happens with decisions to everything that goes on. So I know about the bond, how that plays and how we can make actions later on down the road, but it's easier said than done always. And even though we may not always agree, I think it's important that we have at least discussion and do it civilly. So definitely want to wish all the students a happy school year. My 2 children at home and Mr. Lloyd's children, and definitely Mr. Valaris, Mr. Lloyd's students. I wish everyone the very best. Oh, and Mr. Mizzy's children. I think the youngest is starting kindergarten this year. So I wish everyone on this dais, plus everyone at home, all the best of luck for this upcoming school year. So with that, I yield.
Thank you. Mr. Mizzy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to make this very, very clear. I like you guys. I do. But I don't answer to any of you at all. I answer to 30,000 residents, okay? And I hold that in my heart. So when people say, oh, Mike's behavior, I don't gain or lose anything. I don't. I'm just watching this city almost get torn apart to shreds like I did before the studio project. Let me say this, citizens, deja vu for me. 28 years here. There are 2 types of people who get into this game, okay? There's people who really care and want to do what's right, and there's people who are, what's in it for me? I want to feel like somebody. I want to make money. I want to be important. Or there's just people who do it for, you know what, I really want to serve my community. Today, there's 3 up here who want to serve the citizens and do what's right. However, there's also 3 up here that just, they didn't feel right. A feeling, okay? So they didn't feel right. But the finances were there. That's the crazy thing to me right now. Money. That's all it's about in a small community, okay? We were $2 million in the hole during one administration. People got elected. Almost everyone there was in it for the city and to do the right thing, okay? Guess what? Because of politics and games and what I'm seeing very much here tonight, they lost to everyone's friends, and everybody loved these people. Wow, they're really looking out for the citizens. When in all reality, that previous group that inherited the $2 million budget deficit ended their 4-year term with a $4 million surplus, okay? It was amazing. The studio group gets elected. Oh, everybody loved them. They were great people. We're doing what's right. Look at this, look at that. But their numbers, it was the numbers that weren't right. Well, we don't care if it costs a little more, we'll do this. That's when you go off. That's when the rails start to shake and you're going right off the rails. And by the way, that $4 million that they saved up from the previous administration was gone in 2 years, okay? I don't like being political. I despise being political. These are your mayor and council. They make the choices. But one is so disturbing as approving, and now citizens, bear with me here. They just approved bonding, going out for bonds for a new fire station for over $8 million. Now, temporarily, we don't have a finance director, and I will tell you why, because of this kind of stuff. Call me, email me, I'll explain it to you, or I might come out and talk to the paper. However, this is what destroys your city, and you literally watch it fall apart. Amanda Wirtz is worth her weight in gold, and she doesn't weigh that much, so add me and Matt Valaris too. But because some people didn't like her, Well, she left us, so she left us because she was scared of these people's behavior. I'm not kidding. And you're just gonna watch one after another if this keeps up. The proof's in the pudding. Watch this meeting, people. Analyze what was said. Do the math. We were paying a company, was it $180 an hour? But they can't do it all. They can't do it. So we broke up. Two of the greatest finance people Allen Park's ever had. Carl Johnson, by the way, was the one who stood right up at the podium and told the mayor and council at the time, you do not want an emergency manager. It's the worst thing you're ever gonna see. He said it 3 or 4 times. But you know what? I don't care what he says. We got an emergency manager because nobody listened to him, okay? The finance guy. Like or hate what happened personally, Ms. Parker was nice to me, but I really don't think I honestly think our biggest gains were from Mark Kibbe, Bob Cady, and Amanda Wirtz and the rest of the team. I'm long-winded, but I'm telling you what right now, I'm seeing a studio group, political, I can't stay quiet because I can't watch people lose their jobs. I can't watch house values drop. You know, we actually stopped mowing parks because we didn't have the money because of dumb, just ridiculous feelings. So I ask this. I'm not angry at any of them. They have the right to vote who they want. But you as citizens, watch this meeting. Pay attention. See what's going on. Call me up, email me, we'll talk, I'll show it to you. Thank y'all for coming out. God bless you. Good night.
Well, I will be brief. We just finished the tax season, and I know the treasurer isn't here. And you always get interesting comments, and I'm not going to go into detail. I'll say that for another meeting. But if you look at the claims and accounts that comes out, might give you an idea of where your tax money goes. And just, I know we collect a lot, but please bear in mind that the city actually gets to keep very little. And just off of this check run, we sent over $10,500,000 to the various public schools that service Allen Park. That would be Allen Park, Melvindale, and Southgate Community Schools, over $10,500,000 that we collected, but we also sent back out. And with this check run, we also sent $11,500,000 to Wayne County. So please keep that in mind, and I'll give further details, and I will probably post something so that you have a better understanding of, you know, what comes in, but what we get to actually keep. The only other thing I will say is we are in that season, and even if we aren't, you get into the election season, and I know that a lot of people like to post signs, but we also have signs for roofing and aluminum siding and landscaping. Just a reminder to all of our residents, it is illegal to place these signs on your easement. Doesn't matter if it's in a flower bed around your tree, it cannot be on the easement. So please post your signs where you want, support whoever you want. You can advertise who's ever, you know, doing work on your home, but please keep those signs on your main lawn. They do not belong on the easement. Again, very happy to have a new officer. We are getting some of the best and the brightest, and I think that speaks very well for our community right now. But I will now call for an adjournment. Motion by Mr. Lloyd. Second by Mr. Barr. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:43.